Alrighty, let's see, where did I leave off here? I left off with tetanus. And I had said that the prevention is a vaccine. Alrighty, moving on to botulism. Botulism is caused by Clostridium botulinum. It's a spore-forming bacteria. It's rod-shaped. It's found in honey and vegetables whose growth is inhibited by low pH. That's interesting. This bacteria blocks the release of acetylcholine, which is involved in the transmission of nerve impulses and leads to paralysis of your respiratory muscles. Treatment with an antitoxin and supportive care. Different types of toxins are produced by different strains of C. botulinum, with type A being the most potent. Infant botulism, differences in normal flora may account for the sensitivity. Adult botulism, food poisoning, intoxication, or wound botulism. Next is the African trypanosomiasis, sleeping sickness. That's the Trypanosoma brucei, which is a protozoa. It's transmitted by the tsetse fly. This protozoa multiplies in the fly. When the fly bites a human, the trypanosome enters the blood and spreads to the spleen, the lymph nodes, and the liver, and eventually the CNS, which leads to coma and death. There are some different treatments for it. Next is the Propionibacterium acne. Acne is an inflammatory disorder, not an infection. It's caused by increased output of sebum stimulated by hormones. Sebum is trapped in the pores and forced into the subsurface tissue. Bacteria, which is the Propionibacterium, break down the sebum, causing small inflamed papules and pustules. Treatments for Propionibacterium acne is antibiotics, which could be erythromycin, tetracycline, or doxycycline for serious cases, and for severe cystic acne, Accutane. Isotretinoin. Remember, acne is an inflammatory disorder, not an infection. Anthrax can be caused by the Bacillus anthrax, which is a spore former. Anthrax toxin consists of 3 proteins: a protective antigen, edema factor, and a lethal factor. Humans are affected by 3 forms. Cutaneous anthrax enters through the skin, through a break in the skin. Respiratory anthrax, which is rare, and gastrointestinal anthrax, eating infected meat. Clostridium perfringens, Clostridium perfringens is less severe due to absorption of the enterotoxin. Route of transmission is ingestion of spores not killed by cooking. Symptoms appear within 10 to 24 hours. Recovery within 24 hours. Mycobacterium leprae, which is leprosy or Hansen's disease, infects the skin and the peripheral nerves. There's 3 different kinds. Intermediate, which is skin lesions, hasn't been classified yet. Tuberculoid leprosy, called cell-mediated, skin test positive for granulomas. And finally, lepromatous leprosy, causes gross disfigurement. Skin test is negative because it is so bad that you lack a T-cell response. Mycobacterium leprae grows at lower temperatures, so it likes cooler body parts, like those limbs that are farther away from your core. Treatment is antibiotics. Streptococcus pyogenes, gram-positive cocci, impetigo, superficial tissue, Lesions covered with honey-colored crust. So impetigo is your superficial tissue. Lesions are covered with honey-colored crust. Streptococcal gangrene necrotizing fasciitis involves the sub-Q layer and enters the bloodstream as well. There's a virulence of Streptococcus pyogenes. The M protein sticks out and prevents the cell-to-cell contact and therefore cannot be phagocytized. She'll like that on the test. So in Streptococcus pyogenes, the M protein sticks out and it prevents cell-to-cell contact and therefore cannot be phagocytized. It produces toxins, which are leukocidins, which destroy leukocytes, and has enzymes like streptolysins, which lyse red blood cells, and streptokinase, which dissolves clots. Typhoid fever caused by Salmonella typhi, oral fecal route again. Involves the lymphatic and circulatory systems. Treatment is with chloramphenicol. Normally takes about a month. Symptoms can be severe fever, headache, apathy, weakness, abdominal pain, and a rash. The plague. The plague is caused by the Yersinia pestis. Route of transmission is fleas or rats, sometimes called the bubonic plague, that Yersinia pestis, due to the inflammation of the lymph nodes. Bacteria enter the blood if untreated, then it is called septicemic plague. Causes tissue necrosis in which the skin is blackened, so sometimes it's called the Black Death. If lungs are infected, then it is called the pneumonic plague, easily transmitted from person to person. Pinworm. Small white round worm. Females leave the intestine to lay eggs near the anus. Route of transmission is ingestion of an egg. Infectious mononucleosis is caused by the Epstein-Barr virus, the herpes virus. Infectious mononucleosis caused by the Epstein-Barr virus, the herpes virus. Pathogenesis is replication in the upper respiratory tract. Infection of the B lymphocytes. The virus-induced proliferation of B cells stimulates suppressor T cells to turn off the B cells. The T cells enlarge and can be diagnosed in the blood. They cause swelling. It's the immune system battling with itself and will finally reach equilibrium. Cancers associated with Epstein-Barr virus is Burkitt's lymphoma. Syphilis. Where do they come up with these names? Treponema pallidum. Treatment is penicillin G. You can get rubbery masses in the gums. So syphilis, Treponema pallidum. It's a spirocat. Treatment is penicillin G. Genital warts is caused by the human papillomavirus. It can lead to cervical cancer. The virus replicates in later cells and shed from the surface. Toxic shock syndrome. Is caused by Staph aureus. Toxic shock syndrome associated toxin. TST. The bacteria reproduce in tampons entering bloodstream, causing symptoms. Salmonellosis, caused by the Salmonella species. The route of transmission is fecal-oral. Poultry, eggs, inadequate cooking of the meat, and improper thawing, salmonella. Last 3 to 5 days, antibiotics are contraindicated with salmonella. Escherichia coli. Many strains are non-pathogenic. Fecal-oral. You have the enterovasive strains. They produce diarrhea in all ages. Enteropathogenic strains produce diarrhea in infants. Enteroaggregative strains, chronic diarrhea in infants. Enterotoxigenic strains, traveler's diarrhea. And enterohemorrhagic strains cause hemolytic uremic syndrome, bloody diarrhea due to Shiga-like toxin called the virotoxin. Amoebic dysentery caused by the Entamoeba histolytica, widespread infection. Route of transmission is you ingest cysts. Diphtheria caused by the Corynebacterium diphtheriae, produces a protein toxin that causes symptoms of the disease. The throat swells. It's covered by a tough grayish pseudomembrane producing a bull's neck. That's diphtheria, transmitted by respiratory droplets. Treatment is antitoxin and antibiotics. Really. Walking pneumonia, caused by the Mycoplasma pneumoniae. No cell wall, mostly occurs in school-age children. Pneumocystic pneumonia, PCP, and caused by the pneumocystic carinii. AIDS is associated with this. Cysts in the lung, respiratory infection caused by a fungus. Legionella pneumophilia is a thin, pleomorphic, flagellated, gram-negative bacterium of the genus Legionella. It's causative agent of legionellosis or Legionnaire's disease. Rocky Mountain spotted fever is caused by the rickettsia rickettsii. It's transmitted by a tick. Spotty rash due to abnormal clotting. Dental caries are caused by the Streptococcus mutans. Produces glucan and fructans, which are sticky polymers of glucose. Produces lactic acid and that damages the enamel. Hepatitis B. DNA virus with 3 antigens, HBs, HBC, and HBE. There are 3 forms: Dane particles, spherical, or tubule. Really. Oh, excuse me. Loiasis, Loa, is caused by roundworm. It's only in Africa. It's transmitted by the horse or deer fly. It's a nematode infection of the eye. Chemical bonds. Alrighty, I think we're moving into a little more now of strictly the microbiology stuff. So let me hit